Hi everyone, my name's Tam. I am from Create Business. Thank you for joining us on the Create Business page with Nathan Connors. Hey Nathan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for
Great
coming
to
on
be here.
Create Business Facebook page today. You're from Bang the Drum to talk, and you're here to talk about chat. What is Bang the Drum and what do you do?
Well, Bang the Drum is actually bang the table. So what we actually we do what it sounds like, right? And that is we stand for community engagement, and we stand for citizens and members of communities having the opportunity to bang the table and speak up about the things that matter to them most. And we fundamentally believe that people in communities should be involved in decisions which affect their lives. So we provide a software to local governments and other organizations that want to do community engagement. It's called Engagement HQ. And we provide that software to local governments, state and national governments in 5 countries. So a small little company born out of Newcastle in 2007 has now sort of grown up and is having a big impact right around the world. So we're very proud of what we've been able to achieve.
Well done.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Newcastle. So many good things there. Hey.
All the good stuff. Silverchair,
That's right, Silverchair.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, so much to talk about, so many interesting things and so many things that really touch my heart and motivate me in my business as well, and that whole idea of voice and leadership, who gets to have a voice. And I think particularly right now, what our society, our world has gone through in terms of COVID-19, and also all the uprising and the revealing and anger in regards to racial relationships. There is so much around who's got power and who gets to make choice, and what have we been blind to. And Nathan, I heard you speak right at the start of social distancing about engagement and online opportunities. And one of the things that really caught my attention was your ideas around chatting online, and also inbound marketing techniques and engagement. And it's something you don't hear about very often, and love to have some insights into that.
Yeah, well, look, when Bang the Table was first, conceived, part of our, problem that we were solving as a software business was that people weren't showing up to town hall meetings anymore. And, it was sort of, 2006, 2007, the iPhone wasn't invented yet. Organizations were still, and people were still wrapping their heads around what can you do online, what should we do? And so we kind of made the call that let's do community engagement online. You'll reach broader audiences, people are online, and then people can kind of engage and have their opportunity to be involved in their own time. Now, sort of fast forward 13 years, and everything is online. Your whole life is online, and there's so much more noise online that the same kind of challenge to some extent is still there. People aren't coming to my website anymore. People aren't coming to the place that I've put up online to give them that opportunity to have their say. And so I've been reflecting on this a lot, because in product development, we obviously need to, create features that support, driving engagement, those types of things. And it's often, it's harder than it sounds, to be fair, to all people working in product around the world. Finding solutions to these problems often requires you to borrow from other schools of thought. And so this got me kind of thinking about another piece of software which I've used for many years now, which is Intercom. And they kind of pioneered this space of inbound marketing, and then sort of chat. And chat was their main kind of tool for interacting with people once they kind of arrived in your space, right? And the basic premise of inbound marketing is that you use content, like what we're creating today, to pique people's interests in something. It appeals and relates to them. It drives them to the space that you want them to arrive at, and then you basically convert them into a customer, or in our case, we convert them into someone that realizes that there's an opportunity to engage. They sign up for our portal or our services, and then we start our outbound marketing. So once they're with us and they understand what's available and they're having a good experience, then we go, okay, great. Now we're going to send you content that's relevant to you. But in the first instance, you kind of got to conceive ways of getting people to come in. How do you trigger their interests? Really hard. It's really hard. And so it just got me thinking, it's very, very easy to implement, some of these strategies. Obviously, content creation can be tricky. You've got to invest time in it, and you have to kind of understand the personas of who you're trying to target or with that particular content. But I find that particularly interesting as well. If you have sort of underrepresented, segments or groups of people that you want to hear from, it could be, worthwhile just to sort of focus in on those areas. So come up with some content that might actually unlock a previously, untapped, section of your community or your stakeholder group. So you can make some conscious decisions around, your personas and who you want to target as well, which I think is it's a faster route than taking a blanket approach going, we need 4 million different types of content because we want everyone involved in your, piece of engagement or your project. Well, maybe that's not, the best way to spend your time and money. You might just want to, take a look at, okay, who are we missing as a starting point? So the thing about that is if you use something like a chat messenger for community engagement, if I just...
First of all, a chat messenger, what do you mean by that? We're talking about something that's sitting on a website, or you're using it like inside Facebook? What are you doing?
Yeah, so particularly around websites, right? When people arrive at your website, they're often left for their own self-discovery, right? So they arrive at your homepage, which is your shop front. They might do a quick scan through. Hopefully you've got a good enough call to action there about your project or what it is that you do that makes them want to scroll down and dig a little bit deeper into your site. But what these chat messengers actually do is two things. One is not only do they allow you to be available, like as a real human person when someone arrives, but also they allow you to intercept people when they arrive at your space. And now if that's a community engagement space or if that's a corporate website, the principles are all the same, which is based on the user who's arriving, and you can have a whole range of attributes based on that user. So you might know their location, you will have sort of a picture of their age profile, their demographic profile, etc. If they've been to your site before, you can tell that they've been 10 times. So you've got a bit of a picture of how frequently they're coming to your site. What you can then do is you can intercept those people using those attributes that you understand about them and start to customize intercept messaging for them, right? So it might be, you've seen Sharon come to your dog park consultation 10 times in the last week. And so you might have a rule that says, anyone that looks at this consultation 10 times in a week, send them an intercept message to say, thanks so much for your ongoing interest. Would you like to join? You might actually use that as a tool to get them to join a special consultation group or something. Or you might throw up, you're one of our, most interested parties. You might be interested in this piece of content. This is what we're doing. Like a little a way of bridging the information gap or providing extra context around the project that someone who is clearly looking for more information might want, right?
With this chat and getting interaction happening, finding out who's really interested in an issue, how does it then actually work into where people get to have a say, or they get to communicate their needs, or one of my audience members asked, how can you get more discussion happening through chat once that's happening?
Yeah, so if I reflect on the power conversation we had as an aside to this, which was, the purpose of community engagement has always been about power imbalance and sort of organizations or yielding some of that power. Well, actually, they should be open to giving the community back most of the power, because ultimately, you know, a local government or a state government serves, you know, its taxpayers and its citizenry, right? It's not this, you know, it's not power unto itself, right? It's there for a reason. But it kind of feeds into this idea that you can build trust through acknowledgement. And so if you've got chat and you've got, say, you know, some people in your organization who are available to actually respond to people as they actually reach out to you, it kind of gives people this sense of, actually, well, there is someone there and there is someone listening. And if I want to, all I need to do is type in here and I can ask them a question. Now, local governments have this through their customer service, you know, kind of line. You know, you can report, you know, people flying drones, you know, over the skate park or whatever, or, you know, my bins didn't get collected or whatever your complaint is, right? But these things typically get logged into a system, and then someone in the organization is notified and some sort of rectification or something happens. But actually chat is a conversation. And so if you have a couple of people at a couple of designated times a day and you make them available via chat, you're basically saying, I'm here to talk to you about the things you want to talk about, and this is when we're available. And it's a really nice way of having a dialogue without having to set up a meeting. You know, depending on which particular solution you use, you could be managing. I remember when I was a teenager, I used to get on the IRC chats, and I'd have like 10 chats going at once, you know, about different things. And you get really good at managing different conversations. But the beauty of it is, from a practitioner's perspective, is you're building trust, you're talking to your community, you're sitting in your daughter's bedroom or wherever it is you are, right? You're logging and you're saving all of the conversations because they're all there. The community member on the other side is like, wow, I actually got through to someone and I'm having a conversation about this project. So it's far more engaging than leaving your survey and then hoping that someone, you know, gets, you know, sends out a newsletter 6 weeks later to say we've made a decision, you know. So it kind of opens up this whole experience of digital engagement, right? It kind of moves past that transactional bit, and it actually forces both parties to start dialogue, I guess. Yeah.
That's a bit that really interests me, Nathan, is that idea that potentially people you know, in a safe way, just using text to maybe interact with people or be able to ask questions or do things they normally wouldn't do, and potentially in a time frame that suits them, and on a device that they are sitting with all the time. So I guess, you know, out of our conversation, we've got that idea of actually making chat as a function on your website or in your engagement piece, but also that thoughtfulness about getting people there, and potentially having not a robot on the other side of the chat, but, you know, real people that can talk about what's going on. My last question really will be about thinking about that actual chat, and you know, who might be you know, leading that chat and talking about things. How do you, as someone who's organising and, you know, that engagement and activity in a meaningful way, go about doing that? What would you recommend?
Look, there's two kind of recommendations, and I think they'll seem obvious to people that kind of work in this space. But one is you might have a community engagement team, right? And they're the people who are kind of tasked with managing, you know, organizing, running, you know, reporting, all of the kind of stuff around your engagement program. So naturally, you know, some of their time should be afforded to, you know, providing this level of interaction. But other than that, the second group of people who I would say would be the project owners, or the people that are actually, the engagement has been run on behalf of. So it might be a particular person from a, you know, a department, or an engineer, or whatever, a planner, or whatever it is, making them available through the same interface. Actually, you know, it's even better, right? Like in software, we have our client experience team, and if people need help and support, our client experience team will kind of give them help and support. But every now and then we'll put a product manager into the chat, and the product manager is the person that built the software. And so all of a sudden you've got people talking to the person that built the software, as opposed to this, you know, intermediate kind of layer. And that's a really nice thing that people get to experience. So if you can put the people who are ultimately making the decisions into an environment where they can dialogue with real user experience, because realistically, decision making here is about unpacking user experience, right, and understanding whether or not your solution is right, those types of things. It can just build such a fantastic bridge. So I'd say they're the two groups: the kind of community engagement peoples who are kind of tasked with overseeing the whole thing, but then put the pressure on the other people to say, actually, you front up to them. This is your project. You're the ultimate decision maker here. You should make some time available to be a part of this process as well.
I know I said that was going to be my last question, but it's kind of like an observation that I'm feeling at the moment that, and a lot of projects that I'm involved in or a part of are really interested in users. And they're like iterating things as well, where that user can experience it and give feedback. I've got to admit, I think some of the projects that I've been in, that hasn't been designed as well as it could, and perhaps the whole process of that engagement and interaction is still in iteration as well. I think that user experience is becoming more and more important in a lot of things that are designed, particularly in a online environment. Are you observing the same thing, or do you think it's a decision is made and then a user is sort of coerced into thinking it's a good idea?
Yeah, so that's they're the competing kind of schools of thought, and it's probably classic out of sort of the planning kind of space, which is someone conceives great idea. This is a fantastic idea. It's my idea, and you use engagement as a tool to get your idea realized, right? As opposed to, and you would assume that if you're a good planner, you would have taken on user design principles, and you're actually making projects and infrastructure and whatnot with the user in mind. So I'll give them a bit of I'll let them off the hook to say that I trust that they're doing their bit. But every now and then you do see this kind of, actually, no, this is what we're doing. We've decided, and we're going to use engagement as a tool to kind of get that thing realized and minimize the risks to realizing that thing. And these are the types of engagements that you actually see. Sort of the PR becomes a really strong part of it. You do see a bit of community outrage, but the messaging's kind of as managed and controlled as well as it could be. And if these types of things are happening, then you know that the front end engagement piece hasn't happened, or people haven't felt heard. Those types of things. But ultimately, everything that we do is about users or humans, right? Like, I mean, why do we do anything? It's for people, right? You build a building, you don't just build it for the sake of having a building. You build it for people to use, I guess. You build a piece of software, you're making it for people to use, and people's expectations, particularly with COVID. I was reading a consultation the other day, and this one particular community in New Zealand that I won't name was almost saying to their council, we don't want any more infrastructure. Infrastructure just serves to make developers rich. We just want you to invest in us, invest in the people. Right? We don't need a building to make us a good community. Just paint a bit of yellow paint down this road and make that a bike lane, and we'll be happy. And so these types of things can only come out of that
message.
Yeah, right. Well, particularly because budgets are tightened and there's purse strings, and people are like, well, why would we spend money on a massive events center when we could have a public library? And so these types of things are I think they're really pertinent to that discussion around understanding your users, understanding the services and decisions that you're making around infrastructure services, and whether or not they actually address the user's need. And it couldn't be more. It's more important than ever that we're actually doing stuff for people and understanding them. Yeah.
I agree. Thank you so much. I just really enjoy talking to you, Nathan, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having me. It's always good fun to, whatever comes out of my head, have a chat about. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll see you next time. Bye.